Hi friends, I'm Gary West, and whether you find Augustine's Pizza at your local grocery store or at their restaurant in Newcastle, the folks at Augustine's Pizza hope that their pizza is always your first choice for any and all occasions.
Snow. Bring in the NCTV45.
The Crane Room for your lunch and dinner rendezvous. You'll enjoy their pleasant atmosphere. The Crane Room takes pride in their wide variety menu. Appetizers, sandwiches, soups, salads, entrees, pasta, and the best burgers in town. Newcastle's best selection of domestic, import, and craft beers from around the world, and the Crane Room features a 35-tap draft system. Ask about their daily specials that will please you every time. The Crane Room is located at 3009 Wilmington Road in Neshannock Township. Call 724-656-1553.
The Globe Leader, your hometown newspaper since 1880. Go to nwglobe.com to read fascinating articles. If you know someone who would enjoy this amazing publication as much as you do, why not give them a gift subscription? I'm excited about getting this into the homes of as many people as possible. Please send their email address and we'll do the rest. Call 724-946-8098. That's the Globe Leader, your hometown newspaper since 1880.
Hello and welcome to Gentleman's Monthly. Yes, NCTV45's men's magazine show. We try to hit on some different issues, points, and fashion and food of the day and drink that the gentlemen and men of Lawrence County like to view. So today's show is very near and dear to my heart. As you know, I do cook in the castle, and as my friends know, I make my own homemade wine. Now, when I stumbled across my good buddy Matt Geiger, he began to tell me about homemade beer. Now, my wife, when she doesn't want me to leave home, she puts me in front of the TV with a beer and a pizza and a football game on it, and I'm good forever. I'm with Dave Patton from D&D Beer and Wine Supply. And today we're going to talk, there's so much we could talk about, because if you just watched the commercial, you'd understand that this is a super place. They have so many things in there, and I knew about the wine side. Today I'm going to try and spend some time on the beer side. And Dave, I promised to drag him back so that we could talk about the wine later. But Dave, welcome to Gentleman's Monthly.
Thank you.
And NCTV 45. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what you have in the store and some beers. Let them understand, how did they get to the store first?
Okay, we're located in Hermitage, Pennsylvania, and we're across from Milgrado Chevrolet. So if you're familiar with where the mall is, all you basically have to do is go from Route 18 going west toward Sharon on East State Street. And once you see Mel Grotto on the right-hand side, look to the other side, you'll see 2 or 3 houses. We're one of the ones right about in the middle. It's kind of a tan-colored house. And our sign's out front, and we have parking in the back, so there's plenty of room to get in there.
Now, until Matt really got me into this microbrew, and he did some interesting stuff. He came down here with a milk stout, and it was a darker type of beer. And I said, Matt, I really only drink light beer. And then I drank it, and I was like, wow, this is good. So when you go in to start to do a brew, as they call it, what are some of the things you have to know in order to get started? You might want to, I first would like maybe our viewers to understand what the different type of kits are, or the different type of brews that you can have.
Okay, well, first of all, if you stop into our store sometime, we usually have 1 or 2 beers available for tasting. Okay, right now we have an Oktoberfest, which we brewed just prior to October. Let's see, September, I guess it was sometime. And over the time, even though it's still available, I mean, it's good any time of the year. It doesn't really matter, but it's aged and it's gotten real mellow, okay? And we also have an American-style lager. These are all both made from kits. Now, what you need to know basically is, what style of beer you like. Now, we've got a lot of people around the area they basically lovingly refer to themselves as hopheads. Okay? They like things called IPAs. An IPA is, the original termination of IPA was India. I don't even remember what IPA stands for. India Pale Ale. Okay, so the whole purpose for that was back in the day when India was a colony of Britain. They had to ship beer to the colony. Well, it would spoil. So they started adding hops to it and adding some more hops to it. The hops act as a preservative. Well, then when these guys started coming back, they started saying, well, we like that. So now they started producing that as a general routine. And people have gotten more or less addicted to hops. They love the different flavors of hops. Some of these will be so strong and so bitter, it's amazing that people like them, but they do. Okay. Now, the typical guy that comes in and he says, oh, I like Bud Light, I like Miller Light, I like things like that. Okay, you might as well go to the grocery store and buy that stuff. Or the whatever the store you got to go to, because you can't brew that stuff. Once you start home brewing, you'll never go back.
Yeah, and the only thing that I can say is that I was that guy. But when Matt gave me this, and it was a dark brew, it tasted unbelievably great. Okay, and I forgot all about how those other beers tasted, even why I didn't like dark beer, because this beer was really good. Now, with that, and summertime's coming up, are there different brews that people have in the winter as opposed to the summer?
Yeah, generally speaking, in the summertime, you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit lighter on the hops. It's going to be more drinkable. It's going to be lower on alcohol, because you're going to want to sit and actually enjoy an ice cold glass after you've been mowing or whatever the case might be, without actually, getting, like, let's say, tying one on. So many people do drink beer to get that particular buzz off of it. But in the summertime, you want something lighter, more refreshing, things like that. In the fall, you start getting into a little bit darker, you're a little bit more spiced, things like that, like into the Oktoberfest, into the holiday ales, which are a lot more spiced. And then the pumpkin spice porters, which now you're getting into something. The pumpkin spice porter has the spicy taste of a pumpkin pie. Okay. And it's darker, and it's also got a little bit of a coffee overtone to it. Then, of course, as you get farther into the winter, I mean, you can drink anything any time of the year. It doesn't really matter. It's what your choice is. But those are kind of the things that you're looking at, you know. And then you start getting into the stouts and things like that, which are real heavy coffee flavored and things like that.
Now, when I went in, okay, and I know this is hard for our viewers, to the right they had the kits. And then you have a grain room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Let's talk about the kits first.
Okay.
So I come in and I want to start brewing with a kit. What am I going to need?
Okay, you're going to need some equipment. Okay. And we do have equipment kits, basic beginner equipment kits. Okay, but the basic equipment that you need some form of a pot to do your brewing in. Okay, then you're going to need a bucket where you have these food grade buckets with a lid and an airlock on it to keep air from getting back into it while it's fermenting. So you need that, and then some guys will brew it, ferment it, and bottle it immediately. Okay, the kits all recommend after the fermentation to let it sit for 2 more weeks. You want to transfer it into what's called a glass carboy and leave it sit for another 2 weeks. That's going to clear it. It's going to be nice and clear and crisp and clean looking when you decide to bottle it. Okay, so now you'll bottle it up. Before you bottle it, you add a little bit of sugar to it. And what happens then is inside the bottle, once you put the lid on it, it'll start fermenting again. And as it ferments, the other byproduct fermenting other than alcohol is CO2. And that's where you get your carbonation. So you're basically going to need something to brew it in, something to ferment it in, a bucket to ferment it in. You're going to need a carboy to clear it in. And then you'll need some siphoning equipment and things in order to bottle it.
Now, let's back up how much water in the average kit do you need to boil? And I'm thinking that you put the grains in the water and bring it to a boil. Is that right?
Okay, the nice thing about doing kits is you're only actually boiling 2.5 gallons, 2.5 to 3 gallons. Okay. Now, the reason for that is after you get done, what you're doing is you're actually brewing a condensed form of wort. It's what beer is called before it's fermented. Okay, so, and then what you're going to do is you're going to add enough water to bring it up to 5 gallons. So
after it comes to a boil?
No, you're going to boil it. You're going to do the complete boil with all the hops, adding the hops and everything. Once you've got it cooled down, then you're going to bring it up to your 5 gallons. Okay. So the thing about the kits is everything is in the box that you need. Everything you need. Some of them will have a little bit of grain. And what you're going to do with that, you're going to bring the water up to around 150 to 160 degrees, and you're going to let it steep for 20 minutes, just like if you were making tea. You know, nothing unusual there. You just put it in a bag, you put it in there, and you let it steep for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
After you get done with that, you're going to bring your temperature up, and the kits all will have either and or liquid malt extract or dry malt extract. The dry malt extract is actually the malt that the company has already condensed into a powder form.
Oh.
The liquid malt extract, they've condensed it a little bit less, and it's in a real thick. You know what STP looks like? The stuff, the additive for an engine. It's real thick, or like molasses. It's real thick, okay, and that's where you're getting your sugars from.
Okay.
So you put that in, you break that all down, then you bring it up to a boil. During the boil, what you're going to be doing is adding your hops and any spices or anything else that needs to be put in.
It comes to a boil. I let it cool. I add the 5 gallons of water, and I steep it with.
Well, you steep your grain first. In the 2.5 gallons.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you
add the water.
You add your DME or LME, liquid malt or dry malt extract.
Right.
Then you bring it to a boil.
Okay.
Okay, now you're boiling that 2.5 to 3 gallons of water. You know, if you start off with around 3 gallons, you're going to end up with about 2.5. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to add your first hop addition, which is called your bittering hop.
Right.
Okay, now you're going to boil that starting from the time you start boiling, you've got an hour. Okay, so you're going to boil that for probably 40 minutes or so, depending upon the kit. Every kit's a little bit different. Okay, and then after that 40 minutes, you'll add what's called your aroma hop. Because the aroma is going to all disappear during the boil in the first part, but it's going to bitter it. So when you get done, you're going to add that, or not before you're done, but when you got 20 minutes or so to go, you're going to add that aroma hop. That's going to give you that aroma, that's going to give you the taste and the things that you're looking for. Then after that, you cool it down, add another 2.5 gallons, bring it up to 5 gallons, and then go ahead and set it up and start fermenting it.
And you start fermenting it, you leave it there for 2 weeks, and then you start putting it in the bottles.
You're gonna ferment it for 5 to 7 days, okay? And basically, these kits say that you're gonna ferment it for 5 to 7 days, and then you're going to put it in the carboy and leave it sit for 2 weeks to clear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not even close to putting it in the bottles yet.
Oh no. Now after that 2 weeks of clearing, then it's time to start bottling. Okay, so this isn't a project. If you want instant gratification on a beer, go to the store and buy some. Okay, you've got to. And the thing about this is you brew a batch, you get it ready, you start enjoying it, and you get another batch started. Okay, and so and then of course your friends are all going to want it, so you're going to have to brew some more. Yeah,
that makes sense now. We're going to be right back and talk about the different flavors and the grain room right after these messages.
Joshua Sun Rehabilitation Center. From the moment you arrive, you know that you're in the right place. Dr. John Wrightson listens first. He pays attention to detail and then makes the determination. Joshua Sun Rehabilitation. We make the pain go away.
The Cedars is a great restaurant with outstanding Mediterranean food. The Cedars takeout menu is second to none, featuring pizza, stromboli, hoagies, their famous lamb on the rod, and so much more. So when you're hungry and you want that Newcastle taste, make it Cedars. Now with 2 locations in Newcastle, 827 Addis Street on the east side and 1101 Highland Avenue. Call Cedars East, 724-658-9260, or Cedars North, 724-652-7657. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's, and you've heard that friendly slogan for many years, and it's just as true today as it was when you first heard it. Watch the game right here on NCTV45, and then head over to Pizza Joe's. Pizza Joe's provided a grant for this podcast. Yeah, they have many great locations: State Street, Highland Avenue, Croton, and Shenango. It's your local pizza place. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
Welcome back, and now it's time to talk about the grain room. And it was unbelievable, the smells when you go in there. It was just, I can't even describe it. That's worth the trip enough. Now, tell us a little bit about the grains.
well, that's probably one of my favorite things about actually going into the store is the smell of the store. I mean, it's got that unusual grain smell. Before we hit them too much, I want to kind of emphasize that sounded kind of complicated what we were talking about before. It's not. Okay, you just follow the instructions. Okay. Now,
I'm glad you said that.
yeah, because that's where people want to start. You start at that level and you get through that a few times, and the next thing you know, you're going to want to branch out and you're thinking, hey, I can be a brewer, and you can actually start doing the full grain mash. That's where the grain room comes in.
And let me tell you, and everybody knows because they see me in Cook in the Castle, we're going to do this. This is going to be part of our Gentleman's Monthly, and then I'm going to give you the right food to go with that beer that you just brewed. So you're gonna love it. And like I said, this guy doesn't know me too well. I'm going to torture him. So now we're going down to the grain room. Tell us about the
Right.
grain room.
Okay, the grain room, in there we've got, there's two different types of grains in there. They're called base grains and specialty grains. Okay, now, the base grains come in big 55-pound bags, 55-pound, depending upon which one it is. We've got American grains by Breeze. We have German grains by Avantgarde. And we've got British grains by Muttons. Okay, so now, those are base grains. What that's going to be is you're either going to have like possibly just a standard 2-row grain, which is a real light, real tan colored grain, okay? And then you've got things like Munich grains and I'm trying to think some of the other names, but there's like 5 or 6 Pilsen and different things like that. There's 5 or 6 different base grains. Depending upon what kind of beer you're making, you're going to choose those grains. Now, if you're doing full grain brewing, you're going to need 8, maybe 10, 12 pounds of any one of those. So that's going to be the base. That's where you're going to get the most of your sugars from. But they're what's called unconverted grains. They have to be mashed. Okay, and we'll get into that mashing a little bit. But the specialty grains then are going to be, they're all kinds of different as far as darkness. They'll be anywhere from a light color to a real dark color. And that's where they're going to give you the color in your beer. It's going to darken your beer. It's going to change the flavor of the beer, which some of those grains, when they're really dark, they taste like coffee. And that's where you're getting like your porters and your stouts and things like, you're going to add that grain in there to get that coffee flavor coming in on it.
Okay, okay. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself on this milk stout question, but it was darker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a dark beer drinker, but it was fantastic. I mean, absolutely, positively fantastic. Now, I'm not knowing if he used a kit or he used the grains.
It was a kid.
How do you know how much of what to use? Like, I could do the kit.
Right.
And I'm a little bit nuts, so
Right,
that's
right.
fine. But like, if I wanted to come in and make my own brew, I don't want to come in like the Three Stooges and go, whoa, take some of this. You know.
That's some of the best ways to make beer. Just throw a bunch of stuff together and you come up with what you get.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then I might be good at that.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, like with the chocolate, with the milk stout kit, okay, that kit's going to also include some maltodextrin. And that maltodextrin is basically a derivative, I believe it's from milk. And so that's going to give it a thick quality.
Okay.
And then the chocolate comes from a chocolate malt. Now, you don't want to confuse it for really tasting like chocolate too much, because what it's doing is giving it the color.
Okay.
The dark brown chocolate color, and it's going to also have somewhat of a coffee after note to it.
Okay. Now, the grain room's there, and you said mash. Now, when I think of mash, I think I just kind of, is that mash?
No, what you're going to do, if somebody wants to buy a recipe, okay, they can look it up, do whatever they want to do. We've got several books that have recipes in them. Okay, you can go online, you can get a recipe calculator.
Okay.
And figure out what you want. Okay, so once and we can kind of explain that to everybody if they come in. You don't have to come to any class or anything like that. I mean, we can explain pretty much anything on a one-to-one basis that you need to know.
Okay.
So, but what you're going to do is you're going to call us. You're going to say, okay, I need 8 pounds of base grain. I need 2 ounces of this specialty grain. I need 4 ounces of that specialty grain. Okay, what we're going to do then is we're going to take all that and we're going to mix it all together, and we're going to run it through a mill to crush it. In other words, they got hulls. You know, they're grains. Okay, we got to break those grains open. So what you're going to do then is mashing is the process by which you're going to these base grains are all starches.
Okay.
You've got to convert the starches to sugars.
Okay.
That's what mashing is. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to bring your water temperature up and try to hold it somewhere in around 150 degree range.
Okay.
Just enough water to saturate the grain and just enough water to just have it saturated well enough that it's not floating around and not soupy, but it's going to be like an oatmeal.
Okay.
You put it in there, and you're going to hold it at about 155 degrees or so. And I'm just ballparking these numbers.
Right, right, sure.
But you're going to hold it there for about an hour.
Okay.
During that hour, what's going to happen is the grains, the starches are going to convert into sugars. That's mashing. Now, the next step to that, after you get done with that mashing, you've got to have enough water on hand at about 160, 165 degrees, ready to be able to pour it through the grain. So in other words, you want to wash the sugars out of the grain.
In that, okay.
Okay, now, but the thing is, that's going to take at least another hour. You've got to sprinkle that stuff on very, very slowly. If you pour it in too fast, it's going to run through, it's going to leave all the sugars behind. If you go too slow, well, it's just going to take you a long time. You know?
Yeah.
So you want to get it through there about an hour. You're going to saturate it down through there so that by the time you get done, you're going to have around 6 gallons. And see, that's one of the drawbacks of doing a full grain is the time, obviously.
Right.
And then the other part is now you've got to boil, starting off with about 6 gallons. See, with the kits, you're only working with 2.5, so you can do that on your stovetop without any trouble.
Right.
Okay, once you start getting into full grain, then you probably want to get a burner that you can actually, a self-standing burner.
Well, I'm looking forward to this brew that we are going to do because it's utterly fantastic. Now, when we stop back, we're going to just touch on the wine and go over some flavors for this summer brew that you might want to do. We'll be back right after these messages.
Let's talk with Norm.
We're with
Norm Lutton.
Norm, you're the owner of Crazy Car Restoration. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's a new company we're opening up. Originally, we was Lutton Auto Repair, and we're adding on a little bit. And we're trying to bring out some custom cars for people somewhere in between the $5,000 and $20,000 range, what people can actually afford today. Anymore, you know, all these cars are so expensive. We're just trying to make ends meet for other people.
That sounds great now.
But I've been fixing cars for over 35 years.
That's great.
So when you have a repair, big or small, call Norm.
Hello, friends. This is Angelo for D&D Beer and Wine Supply. Yes, they're right up there in Hermitage, 2770 East State Street. And before, you know, you had to be the king of beers and had to have a brewery if you wanted to make that special brew. Now all you need to do is take the short drive to D&D Beer and Wine Supply in Hermitage. They have everything you'll need to impress your friends and family with that special brew.
We have a great relationship with Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors in downtown Newcastle at 210 East Washington Street. And whenever you watch Focus and See, my wardrobe is furnished by Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors. It's Butts Flowers when you want a wide variety of flowers for any occasion. They also have a selection of fine gifts and more. Butts Flowers is conveniently located in downtown Newcastle at 120 East Washington Street. Call Butts Flowers at 724-652-7727 or toll free from anywhere, 1-800-443-7726. It's Butts Flowers in downtown Newcastle.
They look like you should be able to find them in a lot of the bigger, more expensive department stores.
Our scarves, our shrugs, and our Say No More shirts are exclusive to Inspire Tees. We want to give you apparel that is pretty, sexy, flirty, and makes you look like the woman you are meant to be.
The Beanery Depot and Deli. Coffee, made-to-order subs, snacks, and more. Meatball sandwiches, fresh and hot. Pepperoni rolls, fish sandwiches, chicken, milkshakes. The Beanery Deli. When you're hungry for something special, and it won't cost you a lot of beans.
Wow, yes, it's fun to go to the Y, and now with great affordable rates, it's more swimming, more exercise, more family time. The YMCA in downtown Newcastle or the Y Zone on Eleanor Drive in Shannon Township welcomes you to a variety of programs, exercise, and fun events.
Welcome back, and now we're going to talk with summer right around the corner. And I love summer ales, and I like the citrusy type taste that you get with those summer beers. But I also like my wine too. So real quick on the wine, and I saving that for another time. Now, a summer wine would be like a peach type wine?
Well, more of the fruit type wines, things like that. We sell ingredient kits, okay? We sell the ingredient kits by Wine Experts. Wine Experts has more of your traditional wines, like your Merlots and different things like that, but they also have a line of wines called Island Mist. And Island Mist, some of the advertising for it shows a beach with a lawn chair and you're sitting under the palm trees.
That works for me.
Sure, it works for me too. Even in the wintertime, it works for me. But the thing is that these wines they're lower alcohol. They're considered a wine-based beverage, okay? They're lower alcohol, they're 4, 5, maybe 6%. But they are a base wine, like for instance, we have one that's called a green apple Riesling. Okay, the green apple Riesling is a Riesling base.
Okay.
And then it's got a green apple additive to it. So it's going to be a little bit sweet, like the green apple, but then it's going to have a little bit of a bite from the green apple. Did I say Riesling was sweet?
Yeah.
And the green apple, okay, is going to give it just a tiny little bit of a bite. It's a really great combination. And all of those Island Mist kits are really beautiful for summer.
Well, I don't want to be un-Riesling when I'm making my wine. Well, now, you're going to want to watch that in our next segment, but what we're going to talk about now is those summer beers. And like I said, I love that citrusy type flavor. So tell me, what are my choices?
Well, I mean, there's several different things. Basically, your summer ale, okay?
Right.
It's not super citrusy, but it's going to... I believe if I remember right, it's made with a Citra hop, so it's going to have a little bit of a citrusy background to it. But also we have other ones that are more like shanties and stuff like that have bitter or sweet orange peel added to them to get that citrus flavor out of them. There's just so many combinations you can have. But summertime, you're looking more at your lighter beers, your milder beers. Things are going to be really nice for drinkable.
And I can't wait to make one of those. That's going to be a definite, And maybe I'll try it with a nice brick oven pizza. I happen to know a guy that has one of those outdoor pizza ovens. So a summer ale and a fresh pizza from outside, that sounds like a great combination.
Sounds
for
good.
a little Italian guy here in Newcastle. Well, that's going to do it. First of all, I want to thank Dave for stopping in, and D&D Beer and Wine Supply. When you stop in, make sure you tell him that you saw it on Gentleman's Monthly or Cook in the Castle. Thanks for your time, Dave, and we're definitely having you back because we got a lot to talk about here at Gentleman's Monthly. And I want to thank you for tuning in to NCTV 45, where you can watch us anytime on your time. For NCTV 45, I'm Angelo Parada. Keep watching. We'll see you next time.
It's the China Banquet in Newcastle for a tempting, mouth-watering buffet that you'll enjoy every time. China Banquet is open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Call for takeout or eat in their pleasant surroundings. China Banquet is located at 102 North Jefferson Street in Newcastle. Call 724-658-7777. That's 724-658-7777. The Easter Bunny loves Bill's Bake Shop. Bill Cass, the owner, and his staff are baking all your Easter favorites like Easter bread, rice pie, ricotta pie, sausage and ham pies, nut rolls, apricot and poppy seed rolls, decorated Easter cakes, Italian pastries, and so much more. Bill also has a wide variety of baked goods 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday. Call Bill's Bake Shop and order for Easter. They're located at 228 North Liberty Street in the Mahoning Town section of Newcastle. Call 724-654-4223. That's 654-4223.
Don't lie around like the winter snow. Bring into NCTV 45.